If you're just joining us, we're talking to Phil Ellis on Happy Dough Radio about retirement planning. Phil is a financial advisor from Michigan. He does business with people all over the country. And if you have a question, why don't you pull up his website and see what he's all about first, then you can give him a call. The website is bridisonfinancialgroup.com. Phil does comprehensive retirement planning both with insurance products and securities. Stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. And Phil, speaking of mutual funds, it seems like they've fallen a little bit out of favor in recent years. Do you have any thoughts as to why that might be?
There's a lot of hidden fees in mutual funds that a lot of people don't understand. So you've got with mutual funds, you have transactions and turnover cost. You have cash drag, which is you're paying a fee in that position, but some of the money's in cash. So why would you have to pay a fee on money that's sitting in cash? But you are, and that's where the cash drag comes in. The average mutual fund has a total of a little bit over 3% in fees. So there's a lot of hidden fees that people they're not aware of. They're aware of the expense ratio because that's what is the SEC requires them to disclose that fee. And the expense ratio, the average expense ratio is about 1%. So when you're talking to people, they'll say, how much are you paying for your advisor? What's the fees anyway? And they're like, to be honest with you, I'm kind of embarrassed to tell you, but I really don't know. But I think it's around 1% is what they'll say. And they say that because that's the average expense ratio and that's all they see.
And that's all that's required by the government.
The reason that's all the government requires is because the other fees, they don't know how those fees are going to come about over time. You have to wait to the end of the year to see what all the fees would add up to. But the undisclosed fees of, like I said, the
transaction fees.
Yes, thank you. Transaction fees and turnover cost. The average transaction fee and turnover cost is like 1.46%. So you've got that with the cash drag of 0.83%, and then the expense ratio of about a little under 1%, and you're over 3% for an average cost. So the exchange traded funds, what you have is the average expense ratio is much lower than with a mutual fund of 0.9. So, and that's the only fee you have. There isn't any other hidden fees in the exchange traded funds. To give you an example, the money manager that I use personally for my clients, we don't use mutual funds because of all those fees. So mutual funds are one of the most popular products on the market today. 401ks are almost all mutual funds.
Right.
And we don't even use them because we can get the job done with exchange traded funds much easier with a lot less fees.
And isn't part of that due to the fact that exchange traded funds are not actively managed by somebody? They're just based on an index or a sector.
Absolutely. That's a great point, Charlie. So that's the reason the expense ratio is so much lower, because with the mutual funds, that's part of what that expense ratio is paying for is the mutual fund money manager who's managing that. So yeah, that's exactly one of the reasons why they're a little bit cheaper.